to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A roll call, please.
Mr. Campion?
Here.
Mrs. King?
Here.
Mr. O'Brien?
Here.
Mr. Schuler?
Here.
Mr. Tinkin?
Here.
Mr. Borbeck?
Here.
Mayor McCann?
Here. Please read the Open Public Meeting Act. Ms. Gillis?
Pursuant to the requirements of the New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice filed in the office of the Borough Clerk, posted on the Borough website and in the municipal building, published as a legal notice in the CoStar newspaper, and mailed to those requesting notice and providing payment in accordance with Borough policy.
Thank you. I need a motion to approve the agenda with one addition, Resolution R 2015-82, appointing part-time employees. I need a motion and a second.
I'll motion.
A second.
Do we have any questions on the agenda? Roll call.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. I need a motion to approve the minutes for April 13th, 2015 and April 20th, 2015.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Do we have any questions on the minutes?
Yeah, I wasn't present on the 20th,
Okay.
so I need to do it separately.
Do we separate
You
again?
could break it into two separate, that'd probably be wise, since I think you had two people missing in one.
Exactly.
Just break it.
Thanks.
Motion for April 13th, 2015.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any questions on April 13th? Roll call, Ginny?
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Abstain.
Thank you. Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. I need a motion and a second for minutes April 20th, 2015.
Make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Abstain.
Mr. Borbeck?
Abstain.
Motion passes.
Thank you. At this time, we have a presentation by our engineer, Mr. Joe May. Joe?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. How are you doing tonight? Crosby Road, we submitted an application a while back to get funds to pave this road and fix some drainage problems. That was shortly after Sandy. Then following that, we had a water main break, and with the water main break, the contractor notified us that we had some sanitary sewer problems. That being said, we had the system evaluated before we proceeded to pave the road, and we're here today to show you what our plan is for that road. The limits of the project are from on the west side of Old Mill Road, and it goes all the way down to the easterly portion of Crosby, down to Barton Place. That's the main portion of the road. Both gutters will be milled and paved. The center will be overlaid. There's 7 locations along this branch that need minor to major sewer repairs. We had a videotape, we have joints separated, that's why you may see the one sinkhole down by Jeanette Court, a little bit west of that. And the television of those lines showed several joints out of place. There's one manhole just west of Jeanette Court that we have to actually replace 20 feet, 10 on both sides of the manhole. That's just adjacent to where that sinkhole is. So we're gonna get that repaired before we pave. We don't want to pave the road and have more sinkholes. As we all know, Jeanette Court is in dire need of repaving. That road is gonna be milled out 1.5 inches and a 3-inch overlay put in there. The subgrade there is very good, even though we know that the macadam's peeled up there. Quite frankly, it's held up pretty well without macadam on it, so it's gonna be a mill and overlay there, but essentially that's what this job is. As part of the original application, it was discussed with DOT as part of the application scope of work to put the sidewalk in the area. It's my understanding that we want to have a public discussion with the council and the residents just to get a better idea on that scope of work. Plans designed with sidewalk now, residents look to see what it's going to look like in that area. I really don't have anything else at this point. Well, we're looking to advertise May 15th, receive bids June 10th. That's our goal. Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. Norman Terrace, we have a bit of a parking issue there. Norman Terrace has been proposed to make the bulbous or the radius of the cul-de-sac curb painted yellow, and have no parking in this cul-de-sac. It's not a standard size cul-de-sac, doesn't meet the RSIS standards for emergency equipment for vehicles, and there's been some neighbor issues with parking. To alleviate safety issues and parking issues, I recommend that we paint the radius yellow and post as no parking area. And to fall back on the other cul-de-sac, on the west side of Jeanette Court, there's a few properties that have significant drainage problems, especially in the winter. They freeze. I'm proposing to remedy that with some tie-ins to some yard drains there, because right now the water has nowhere to go. It actually crests in those people's front lawns and their front yards for ice skating. So we're going to try to remedy that with some small drainage piping. As part of our television inspection, we did look at, there is some under drain on both sides of the roadway there that was put in years ago. Majority of it is in, I would say, moderate shape. It functions. The cost to replace it is very, it's very high considering what impact you get out of it. It's better off to maintain that line as it is and do spot repairs as we need them. Right now, there's approximately, about 600 feet of storm drain on both sides of that road that was put in, quite frankly, I don't know when, but back in the day, to alleviate some problems with some pumps on that road. And we recently repaired one just adjacent to Norman Terrace, and has fair root issues. They're older pipes, and we cut it out and repaired them. I would recommend we continue that, trying to replace the whole line at this point. The sanitary sewer, on the other hand, it's in the roadway, we don't want to dig it up. This drainage pipe is actually behind the curb, so it's accessible. There'll be spot repairs, there's some broken curb here and there. It's not the intention to spend money and replace good curb. Broken curb will be replaced, and if sidewalk goes in, everyone that gets sidewalk gets in apron, make the transition into the property, and a few feet past the back of the sidewalk and back into the driveway. Other than that,
I'm sorry, Joe, you said you're going to repair whatever section of the curb is broken?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. There's some damaged curb on the north side of Crosby Road here, and quite frankly, a lot of some found snow. A lot of found snow on the radiuses. They're large, they're hard to see, and they get some wear and tear. Follow up with where we're at with our road program. You may see a map on your desk in front of you, and we have approvals for 3 different roads, segments of roads. First being, of course, Norman Terrace. That is in red. Our second road we're going to be designing shortly is Mercer Avenue. And the third is a combination that the borough got awarded for Central and Grieve. And just to give you a little recap on those applications, for all three actually, our original engineer's estimate for Crosby Road was $282,000. The DOT is funding $175,000.
Which one was that, Joe?
That's
For
Crosby Road.
Crosby, okay.
The red section on your map.
Okay.
The second application was for Mercer Avenue. And you need to understand, we submitted this multiple times, we denied, and then we finally get them approved. Well, not all the time, but we fortunately get these approved. That estimate was for $260,000. We received $200,000. And the third application which we submitted for was Central and Grieve, and that was for approximately $249,000. and we received $150,000. So in total, we received over $500,000 in grants, and it's, my goal is to get these things moving out ASAP.
Now, Joe, a question on Central Avenue, Mercer, and Green. If there's any place that doesn't have sidewalk, are we going to address that in those?
Well, once again, we can put it in, and it's up to the council whether the council wants it, because I know we had brief discussion in the past where there was a sentiment that perhaps some areas didn't need sidewalk and other areas did, so it's whatever the council's discussion, but what
Well,
seems fit.
Greve Avenue, I do know, most of it is sidewalked already.
We
But there
fixed
are,
the handicap ramps, put crossings in. As you know, that road is a major cut through,
right,
and it needs to be repaved.
right. And that's another reason why I thought there's just a couple of little sections where there is no
Yeah,
sidewalk.
we
and
would
then-
fill them in, of course. Yeah, I shouldn't say of course, but it would be my intention to fill them in. And similar with Central, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, I don't believe there's very much.
No, there's
on
not
Central.
anything there. But didn't we have a couple of years ago a priority zone of sidewalks we were
Yes,
going
we
to
did.
work on first because they
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
faster traffic, like, you know.
Did we vote on that?
We did, we did.
Did we vote, did we make that final? I don't know if we.
I don't think it was made final, I know it
No.
was brought for discussion, I think, basically the goal at that meeting was, we had a few residents in that were living in homes, and
But we were trying to identify streets that are cut-through streets and-
Yep.
and heavily trafficked where sidewalks would make sense, whereas some streets are not, and they wouldn't make sense. So is there a way that we can bring that to a vote to solidify
Yes, we
our
actually
thoughts on
have
that?
the draft map, and there were a few changes to be made, and we did not get to the point of bringing it back for finalization.
I can bring that back to next.
Let's bring it back, because then at least we have a plan in terms of when you get these grants, what gets sidewalks, what doesn't, so on and so forth, that we can move forward in an organized fashion.
Would you know off the top of your head if Crosby was part of that plan?
Crosby had been identified for sidewalks because of the access, the back entrance access to Railroad Park. But I will say that in terms of the sidewalk issue, again, adding a full access of sidewalks on Crosby is a fairly involved process and project. We estimate the cost of that alone is about $50,000 of the $282,000 that Mr. May has mentioned for this project. It is my suggestion that with the council's approval, having made this presentation here tonight, that we would schedule a more formal meeting, either again at a public council meeting or an afternoon where residents could be notified to come in, view the plans, and perhaps get some feedback on the pros and cons of sidewalks. Again, in this particular project, sidewalks were only proposed for the south side of Crosby. So it's not all properties that are impacted, but there are no.
So could we finish up that map and then maybe move forward with the plan that you suggested in terms of allowing residents to come in and see what we're thinking and then receive feedback?
Yeah, because there is some logic to having it in the areas that are, you know, in Crosby's case, you know, you're on,
Right, the
kids
south
are on
side,
their way to the
yeah.
park perhaps, or, you know, some roads are busier than others.
And again, it is the suggestion that we move ahead with a public session and specifically notify the
Absolutely.
residents. The question is whether you would like us to do that during a council meeting such as tonight's presentation, or whether we make it available in an afternoon for residents to come
Well,
in.
the
You should
residents
do it
can
at
come-
night because there's a lot of people, I know a lot of people that live up in that Crosby, Norman Terrace area, and they work. So I think
Yeah,
you should
evening
do
is
it
best.
at a meeting.
And as Mr. May mentioned, the issue regarding the change of parking regulations on Norman Terrace, that will require an ordinance change. We would include that information to the residents in that area so they can also provide some feedback as far as the, you know, whether they're in favor or opposed to that. And really give the explanation from Mr. May regarding it.
Jay, is there a process for notifying the affected residents there besides the normal publications?
There's no formal requirement. It is our plan that we would send notification to all property
I would hope so.
owners. And with the council's approval, that we would schedule that for the next regular meeting, first meeting in May.
Would there be signage involved in that too?
Yes,
Okay, good.
In terms of replacement of signage,
No,
the cul-de-sac.
if you change the parking on the cul-de-sac,
Yeah, just to
there
clarify.
would probably
that
have to
for
be
the
some
council,
sort of signage involved in that.
Yeah, he said
It's gonna be yellow
Right.
curb, and
Yeah.
then, on lot 13, there'll be, adjacent to the utility pole, there'll be a sign there, says no parking in cul-de-sac.
And also, Mr. May has mentioned the DOT grants. Again, with the Mercer Avenue project, well, let me start with this one. Previously, at the time we received the notification of DOT award, we identified the balance of the funding to come from the 2011 bond ordinance that included undesignated drainage and road improvements. So the balance of funding for this project is identified to come from there. Likewise, as you've seen, tonight's agenda includes the notification from DOT on the award regarding Central Avenue and Green Avenue. Mr. Mayor will be putting together more formal estimates on that. But again, we've identified that same drainage and road improvement bond ordinance for the balance of the funds that will be the match from the borough.
Good, thank you, good job.
What is our portion of that cost, do you know?
There's no requirement to match, but again, DOT typically
So
will
you can
only
find bids to
fund.
do it for the grant, it could be nothing.
You need to meet the original intent of the scope that you
Right,
submitted,
sure, you
and
can
then
check that.
there's certain portions that aren't reimbursable.
But again, if, for instance, using Central and Green as an example, our estimate originally was about $250,000. The grant is $150,000, so we either have to supplement those funds to do the entire project, or we would have to essentially only do one of those roads or the other.
When you say money left over from 2011 bond ordinance, how much money is left over from that bond?
Well, I
ordinance?
don't want to say that it was left over. It was, the bond ordinance included $300,000 of drainage and road improvements that were
That
not
was earmarked for
specifically
this.
identified.
Understood.
And currently, starting with the 300, we're designating about 125 to 130,000 from for the Crosby project. So we still have sufficient funds to more than likely cover the balance of the two projects that we're talking about.
But as Joe pointed out, we put in a grant for this for, 250. The DOT is going to expect to do everything we say in the grant, so that's.
But if we get lucky and somebody comes in with 230 for the bid to do the
Right,
package, we don't.
100%,
Okay.
100% correct.
That's something I spoke with Mrs. Lane, Administrator, about potentially, if time warranted, it allowed us to try to get these out rather quickly, because the contractor sees, oh, there's work coming out in Spring Lake Heights, I can potentially move over from job to job to job, we may get a benefit savings in that aspect. It's kind of a double-edged sword, because if you get a good contractor and you get a bad contractor, and then you get a good contractor, but so is the.
Do you know what your timeline would be for tackling Grieve Avenue? Because my only question would be with the fields right around the corner. I know that's a prime parking spot for
Well,
people to walk
we need to
in.
go in order of the grants, so that would be last,
So like towards the end of summer at best.
at best.
More than likely, there's a possibility, depending on the schedule, of fast-tracking Mercer and Central and Green, but certainly the plan is to have them on the street for bid this year.
Great.
Great work.
Thank you. Mr. May, Mr. Delaney, thank you.
And Mayor, the second item, we had anticipated doing a presentation regarding the tree preservation program this year. We're going to ask, request that be held for further discussion.
Okay, that's fine.
And just, Mr. Mayor, our schedule to meet with, or attend the May Environmental Commission meeting to review those tentative plans.
Okay, it may be,
Yes.
okay. And what's the date on it? What's it? Ken? Was it first? Fourth?
Actually, it's, yes, May 4th.
Public hearing, we have on the agenda the community development block grant, soliciting any project ideas that the residents may have. Mr. Delaney, what would be a good project
Mayor,
example?
First, just to provide the council with some background, as you know, the borough participates with the Monmouth County Community Development Block Grant Program, commonly referred to as CDBG. CDBG funds are federal funds that are made available. In this case, most of the municipalities in Monmouth County are participating in a cooperative plan where our allotment is collectively gathered, and the funds are distributed at county level based on applications. These grant funds are available for community development activities. They are primarily geared toward the benefit of low and moderate income residents based on detailed target area neighborhood maps that are prepared by the county. Typically, handicap accessibility improvements are fully funded, and the borough has utilized them in the past for that purpose. In the past 2 years, we have submitted an application for renovations to the community center, and we were unsuccessful in both of those years, although I can tell you...
But we were close.
We were very close.
We lost by less than 0.6%
Yes.
on the last one.
And in fact, as a result of some funding that has either been reallocated or turned back to the program, I've been informed that we will receive partial funding for last year's application. Because again, it was a priority list based on the rankings, and our project was very close, but just below the funding threshold.
What was the amount of that, Jay?
We had requested, I believe, $200,000. The CDBG program was not in a position to tell me the exact amount that we will be receiving notice on, but they did indicate that we will receive partial funding for last year's application. Based on that, and notwithstanding any comments that may be presented from the public, it would certainly be my recommendation that high consideration be given to resubmitting that application again this year. I previously provided the council with the information. I believe it's July is the deadline for applying. This is the first public hearing that's part of the process where, again, we're soliciting information and suggestions from the public. Based on the comments that are heard tonight, at our next meeting, we will be coming back with a formal public hearing on whatever application is suggested.
We were so close last time, and that would...
What kind of improvements to the community center are we speaking about? I'm not familiar with it.
It was essentially a renovation, an interior renovation, as well as removal of what I'll call the shed addition on the back where the kitchen is, an addition that would then extend the full width of the building and provide I don't want to use the word kitchen, but essentially a food preparation area, as well as a small conference room and a medium-sized conference room, therefore leaving the existing main community center area undisturbed, so that we have greater flexibility in terms of the use of the building for small groups, large groups, and medium-sized groups.
And they could go at the same, simultaneously, which is nice.
They could. One of the concerns that we have there is that the site is somewhat limited. So while we're looking to improve the functional use of the building, we're really not looking to expand the occupancy because the parking is the limiting factor. So again, I think you're all familiar with what impact that would have on the adjacent area. There is no parking on Ocean Road in that area. But again, it would primarily provide much greater flexibility in the use of the facility. The plan also includes plans for a generator for emergency use when necessary.
Very happy to hear about that.
Yeah, because we borrowed, during Sandy, we borrowed a generator for that spot, and then it blew out of light bulbs and stuff. We need it.
Oh, yes.
Also the refinish of the floor.
Yes, it was essentially a refinish of the entire interior with the exception of the restroom facilities that had been upgraded within the last 5 years. New electric service, and I believe new HVAC.
Thanks, Jay.
So we have a better chance this year maybe than next year.
I would hope.
Okay. Sounds good.
But there, it is, this is the scheduled public hearing to
Yes.
solicit
Yeah.
public comment.
I will ask if the public has any ideas, they may just step forward. And, yes, Evelyn, we need your name and address.
Evelyn Condello, 807 Park Avenue, Spring Lake Heights. The plans for the community center have been around for quite some time, as some of the committee members know. One of my concerns is the fact that I was told, and I understand, Jay, there may be some asbestos in the basement. If we take a look at this, if you're looking at the plans, maybe looking into that and see whether it has to be removed or contained would be one thing. The other thing, parking is a continual problem that we have, and I thank the council and I thank Mr. McLean for putting the hours in for the community center, for the direction and everything. Maybe we could also look for getting signs at the entrance and exit and entrance to keep that flow going around, because it is very helpful. One of the things I spoke to, and I thank the council very much for appointing, I guess, one of the public workers to clean the building. It has been much cleaner. I spoke with Steve, and we worked out a little system that if there's a problem, we'll leave a note in a particular place to look for it. But one of the things we did discuss, and of course, if you do get the grant and if the building squares off, so to speak, it may eliminate. If that doesn't happen, I would ask the council to be mindful on the back patio, the step going down. We have had someone fall there once a couple of years back in the icy weather and everything. The drain pipe pours right out there. Maybe looking to put a handrail to the left side there, that at least if someone's stepping down that step, they can hold on. That would be, I had made suggestions, pardon?
You're saying that's if the patio remains?
If the patio
Yeah.
remains, correct. I had made suggestions before, to some of the council, maybe go over to Seeger for storage if you get those 2 rooms we were talking. I think one of the plans had been to use one of the rooms for storage, Jay, for the tables and chairs and everything.
There was an area identified, some storage closets or cabinets for storage.
Right, because I've suggested in the past, if any of you have been over to the Seagirt Lighthouse, how they store their tables and chairs in the main room. It's makes for utilization of the room, where it's under cabinets with a surface that you can put hot plates down on and things like that. If we end up redoing the kitchen, maybe doing some sort of countertop that hot plates can be put down, because what's there now just stains and gets burnt, is a problem. Okay, so I don't know if this is particularly on just this topic or any of the agenda items.
Just this topic.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, would anyone else have any ideas?
Stephen Murphy, 2014 Highway 71. Regarding the generator, that would be an auto-on generator or portable generator?
I'm sorry, what was that question?
Would the generator be an auto-on or a
Yes.
portable
Kelly?
generator?
It would be an natural gas generator or automatic transfer switch.
That portable don't run very well. Thanks.
Anyone else like to add? No? Does anyone up here have any ideas that they would want to
I
share?
think that'd be a wonderful project if we can get it approved.
Oh, was that the
What
community?
we've talked about so far, I think is excellent.
Because everybody benefits from it. Okay.
Yeah, tell. the whole- All right, Jay.
Mayor, it would be appropriate for a formal vote to close the hearing, and then I'll make a comment after
Okay. Need
that.
a motion to close it?
I'll make that motion.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Mayor, just regarding that hearing, what I sense are positive comments for the moving ahead on the community center project. We will prepare that application, and the hearing on that application will be at our next meeting.
Very good, thank you.
Thank
You, Evelyn.
You're welcome.
Let's see, At this point in the meeting, we have the public comment section where you may speak on any agenda item you like. Just step forward, give your name and address. Now you're welcome to speak on any item.
Evelyn? Just like a little closer.
Is that good? Okay. Evelyn Candello, 807 Park Avenue. A couple of things I'd just like to bring attention to. On Old Mill Road, right before you get to Warren Avenue, before you get to the stop sign there's a pretty deep pothole developing, so you might want to take a look at that. Potholes are driving me crazy, so.
Joe, you aware of the potholes in town, correct?
Yeah, we are aware, Mayor, just so the council understands, we don't have a pothole up here. I borrow from Seager from Wall as I can. I'm limited. I ask for as many days and hijack it for as many days as I can. I need it for probably about 2 weeks. I can't get it right now. We've done some major with Snyder. We've contracted on Borough Hall. We've done some on Ocean Wall. I'll put it on my list of priority. There is a lot of potholes. We've been trying to address the ones that we felt were very.
Let me ask you a question. Sorry, Joe, let me ask you a question. When you fill in the potholes, you use the hot
Yeah,
patch, or
that-
can you?
that's what that machine does.
Can you temporarily put a cold patch on or not? Would be any-
It's 7 times more expensive,
Okay,
and
forget
it
it.
doesn't last.
Okay, forget it.
I actually put down a pallet of cold patch. The pallet of cold patch costs the town $700 change, and it's 50, 40-pound bags, so it's about a ton.
So we just have to have a little
And I can buy
patience.
some out for $95. The thing is, I don't have a hot box. I borrow Seegers, I borrow walls, and I'm limited on how, to do that. Our next administrator, when we're looking into perhaps looking to share service to Spring Lake, it's a machine that is expensive, in the 40 grand range. However, if we get Spring Lake to look at maybe sharing that service, we both need it. We both don't have one. And it's something that we can entertain, have a shared service. But we are aware of the potholes and we're trying to address it. I guess that's what you want.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
One,
Some of the municipalities have a system whereby they can bring up to Public Works and people can write in and let Public Works, the guys can't fix them if they don't know about them. So if you let them know where it is, and then they're given a certain amount of time to repair them, and then they write back to the resident, letting them know that that's repaired. Some municipalities have that capacity.
Maybe we get a clipboard for.
We receive, we maintain a record here if anyone has issues, call Borough
And the
Hall.
guys are driving around every day, right?
Yeah, and typically, as Jay indicated, he tells me, but what we.
It's not a matter of not knowing, it's a matter of being able to get the hot box.
The best way to do this, of course, address the ones immediately, you gotta start on one end of town.
And work your
up
way,
and
yeah.
down the street and hit everyone. Because the one that ain't bad today is gonna be bad.
Oh, yeah, right, that's right.
So that's,
And they did reoccur,
ideally,
so it won't be.
that's the best way to do it. There's ones that have to be addressed immediately. I know the one on Wall Snyder, I mean, the one on Reed as well, and Claridge, that we addressed, that was also,
It's a matter of getting the hot
Tank
box.
trap.
Joe, I assume that this isn't the kind of piece of equipment you could rent from an equipment supplier for doing this? I thought so. I figured as much.
You and everybody else.
I even call contractor buddies, and they're like, yeah, I'd be happy to come out for you.
I'm not gonna rent you a tool that makes our bread and butter, I understand.
Is there anybody budgeted for next
And
year?
I actually got one contract to give me a quote, and the price was $6 a square foot. So,
we'd have to come up. I think, Joe, didn't you say you're working on a
Shared
quote or a
service.
price?
well, it's something I spoke with Jay, and we're in the process of having some negotiations with Spring Lake on some other items that may be that I need, and I talked to Spring Lake, and they've been more than gracious in helping me with different materials and equipment. Because they have a little bit more resources. than we have.
Share, something like a shared service.
Yeah, so.
Okay, we're working on it.
I know the guys saw it, I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Another thing would be the senior activities. Most recently, the flexercise class, the instructor, because of medical reasons, said she had to leave on very short notice. And apparently she had called Sean Peter, and his advice to her, well, just cancel the classes, which the seniors were not willing to do. It's the longest running class, 20 years. The Tai Chi instructor has said that she would step into the position for right now. to keep those classes going. We had one of our old instructors come back for a few days, but what I would like to request, Mr. Tenkin, as I understand it, you're still in charge of rec, that maybe Sean look into lining up other substitutes for each of the classes, or developing, like we do with teaching, the substitute list in some way, shape, or form. I would encourage him to make sure the person is certified and has experience with seniors, because working with seniors is not like working with 20-year-olds or the teens and things like that. Okay, that was one on my list. The tree preservation, I just had a question, Mr. McLean. The council voted on approving the agenda that was on the agenda. So can that just be dropped, or do they then have to make a motion to drop it from the agenda?
Well, it was supposed to be a presentation. I don't know that you need a formal motion if you're not ready to proceed on that.
Okay, that was a procedural question. Okay, thank you. The partial funding from last year's 2014, for the community service grants, I guess it was, is what we were talking about earlier, for the community center. Would that application be available to the public to see, or would I be able just to look it over again?
Last year's application?
Yeah. Sure. Just to see if it could be
I
tweaked.
think you have to follow up with Joe or.
It's available for your review.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kathleen Crippen, 564 Atlantic Avenue. At the last, the budget workshops, there was proposed rate increases that kind of bounced around from 1.5 points to 1.2 to 1.7, and now there's an ordinance tonight to exceed the appropriation limit. And in the meantime, an hour ago, the school just came in with a 2-cent increase, which they say is going to be $106.54 per household. So if the council comes in with a 2-cent increase, that's another $106, so now we're up to $212. So does anybody know what the county is going up by?
No, then you have the county, you have the library.
So then you got all that. So I think at the last workshop, somebody up here, it might have been Mrs. King, I have to go back and look at the tape, said that there was a way to do a 0 increase. And in truth, you can do anything you want. I mean, if you just want to tighten your belts and cut a little bit. I would strongly urge that the council consider doing 0, or at least trying to cut that back down. The economy still isn't great. There are people, and there's seniors here tonight who are on fixed income. My husband is now on a fixed income, so I know what it feels like. There's people in town who we know who are still getting laid off with jobs, or who have not found full employment from last time they got laid off. So the economy is getting better, and it's interesting, because I see people in maybe the 35 to 45 or 50 age group who are saying, oh yeah, I don't mind spending extra taxes. But that's not everybody in town. There's a bigger demographic than that, and some of us are still, kind of picking and feeling our way. So I personally would really appreciate it if you take another look and see if you can tighten your belts a little bit collectively, because, it still isn't good. We're up to 4 cents now. So if you guys stay at 2 and the school stays at 2, if the county comes in.
There is an increase from the county, I just can't quantify the number. I know I
Yeah.
saw it, the number escapes me, but it wasn't low. I think it was like 1.5 or 1 3/4.
All right, so there's roughly another 2, so there's another $106 coming out of everybody's pocket, so.
Yeah, we started at 2, the end result wasn't a 2-cent increase though.
So,
Uh,
well, I'm just saying, it
Yeah.
would be appreciated, I think, not just by me and my husband, but certainly by everybody here, and certainly a wide pool of people in the town, if you can keep it as low as possible. Thank you.
Thanks, Kat.
Thank you, Ken. Anyone else have anything they would like to speak on? Seeing no hands, I need a motion to close the public comment.
Make that motion.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Move on to the council reports. We'll begin with Mr. Warback.
I think Joe's done a wonderful job, so I've got nothing to report.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. Mr. Tinkin.
Yeah, Mayor, we're gonna move towards beginning the registration for the summer rec program, so you'll be receiving more information on that.
Thank you, Chris. Mr. Schuler.
Nothing to report.
Mr. Campion.
The only thing that I want to discuss, and I'm going to put Joe on the spot, because the email we received about the hydrants and the flushing, can you give a quick run over on why we do them at night and what the process is for the hydrants, so everybody's aware?
Sure. I first asked, I spoke with our Water Utility Authority and got their opinion on whether they recommend we flush. They highly recommend we flush at night. A, has less impact on residences and especially our businesses. And I can ask our clerk, we have fielded probably 10% of what we received last year in complaints.
I guess more of why we do it at night and related to what we discussed about pressures and velocities and demand on the system and how you can do a better job functionally of flushing it. That's what I wanted to do.
There's less water usage at night, we get a better flush, we have better pressures, there's less impact, traffic. I don't have to use the fuse on all the hydrants because the traffic is down. We get a better pull on the hydrants. And then, quite frankly, get it done a little faster at night. And because we're not waiting for this one to cross the road or traffic or this or that. And it's working better.
There was a mention about noise and equipment. What equipment is used related to that?
Occasionally we use a generator to vacuum out a shop vacuum.
Okay.
Because they're full, you know, all the salt and sand.
So if the underground boxes that you reach down to with the pole get obstructed, you have to suck that out to get to the valve.
But I will say you guys are pretty quick too, when you're at a hydrant.
Strictly
I
10
don't-
minutes a hydrant. We
Yeah, it's
have a
not,
couple
it's not a
that-
real long time.
But that case where you need to actually clear out a curb box to get down in there to control the valve is not in every hydrant event, it's only when you run into an obstruction.
We actually spent a good part of our fall season with two gentlemen going out. You may have seen them going around, just trying in preparation of getting all these things cleaned up. Some of them are in a position where they take water
Okay.
and they silt up pretty quick with rain. But the report from the men, and I've stopped in, 3 to 5 nights, popped in, see how the guys are doing, and they're ahead of schedule.
And just one more question, just to clarify, the question that came up about overtime, the guys who are doing it, that's their standard schedule shift, right?
Yeah,
Thank you.
I asked them if anybody had objection work at night. They said,
Just
we should used to do at night, they prefer it at night,
But there's no differential for that, it's their straight salary.
straight salary.
Thanks, Joe, I appreciate it.
One little thing, Joe.
Yes, sir.
Personal opinion.
Yep.
I know when the men are working, because I take a shower late at night. I lose the pressure. Those guys are out there working.
Come to your house tonight, would
You should know they're working there.
Yeah, that's exactly when they're out there working. Thanks, Joe. I'm only kidding with you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Anything else, Chris?
No, that was what I was looking for, thank you.
Mr. O'Brien?
I just wanted to note that a couple things. One, we're voting on the reception and review of the audit that you should have gotten last week, and I just, hopefully you got a copy of that and we're able to look it over. There are several suggestions on what we can do to remediations. You typically get that in an audit, but this is just basically that we've received it, reviewed it.
Thanks, Tom. Ms. King?
I don't have anything in reference to the police department, but I do have something that I want to make the public aware of. Going back probably a little over a year ago, there was the issue of the fire whistles brought up at the council meeting. And since that issue was brought up, the fire whistles have been utilized basically when there is a fire between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Now, as I understand it from our chief, Joe Tompe, they have had to utilize the whistles at different times, and there's been a couple of times it's gone off because they've had a new dispatch person, and they don't know the rule, and so they've set the whistles off. But what I do want to let everyone know is that our new chief is in the process of looking into purchasing a different type of whistle. Because what has happened is the whistle at the playground on Ocean Road conked out, and it hasn't been working. The whistle on Grieve Avenue conked out and wasn't working. Now the whistle at the fire company is not working. The only whistle that was repairable or temporary is the one on Grieve Avenue. So that's the only whistle we have functioning in town right now, which of course for the neighbors over there is driving them absolutely crazy. But he has assured me that the whistle will only be blown if there is a fire. And in the meantime, he is in the process of looking to see if we can obtain another whistle. He would like to get one that is of a rotating nature. It would be probably put at the firehouse, and it again would be utilized only when there is an actual fire. But this new whistle would not have the magnitude or the intense piercing sound. And I do know there's one person in this audience besides me right now that can attest to that, and that's Nate Novak, because he lives over there on Keith Avenue, and when that thing goes off, it is piercing. But that's not the type of whistle that we're looking for. We're looking for something that's going to be rotational, that it'll have a swing to it, and it'll also be voice activated. So if we want to put messages out over it, the voice will rotate and you'll hear someone talking on the whistle. So it's a whole different concept. I understand from Joe Tompe that the cost of it is probably somewhere around $24,000, and hopefully we will be able to go that route in the near future. But I do want people to know what the whistle situation is because we've had ongoing complaints.
Sarah, that would get rid of Community Center and Reeve Avenue with just one of the
Correct,
cars?
there would be only one whistle, and that would be at the firehouse.
Excellent.
Thank you, Mr. King. I just have an announcement. On May 16th, there'll be a townwide yard sale, and that goes from 9 to 3, and you can register at the Borough Hall and get the permit. So that's May 16th for the yard sale. On the reports, we had the municipal court report. We had a New Jersey Transit fare change, I'm not sure what it was. And we have a resolution from Millstone Township explaining, or something going through the assembly about what we've been talking about tonight, the taxes from the school, the municipal tax, and so on and so forth. Did everybody have a chance to look at that? It was interesting. Okay. And also the municipal aid award that Mr. May spoke about. Joe, you have something on that?
Mayor, you mentioned transit, I just want to bring the council up to speed on something. As you were notified last meeting, they're shutting down Ocean Road starting Wednesday. We'll work with transit, put a drain on Railroad and Ocean, and redo the ditch work there. So transit's been very good to the borough, they're letting us actually put a pipe underneath their electrical signal line, so like we're one back them for letting us work there, because typically, that's out of balance for us. The intersection down there, I don't know what the twin pipes are right at Railroad, they go into that ditch, they don't function right now, they're flat. So we're gonna let us put a regular size one, a 12-inch pipe, and we're gonna redo the ditch all over the pipe.
Nice. Now that you mentioned it, Joe, I remember during Hurricane Sandy, I was touring town and saw some of the guys up there cleaning something by Railroad and Ocean.
They're 6-inch pipes, tennis ball here, whatever.
And they were out during the storm.
The first one blocks it up,
I
and
remember.
that intersection floods, and the residents are always complaining about it.
They were out there doing a job.
But they're starting that project Wednesday, we'll do it Thursday and Friday.
One comment I like to make, coming from Spring Lake into the Heights, they got the sign, the railroad's closed. When you go to the Heights into Spring Lake, they don't have any sign.
Well, they're gonna be Ocean Road. We have received a signage plan from DOT. I've reviewed it. It appears adequate. The chief is in the process or has reviewed it. I'm not sure about the status. but the road's being closed from Ocean Road down. So you'll be notified coming up 71, there's some signs up Ocean Road that's gonna be put in. I don't know if it's all in yet, they may have started in Spring Lake first, but
Yeah, they have
all
one ready,
four directions essentially are gonna be posted.
they had one ready in Spring Lake just about the time you hit the track, saying that.
Yeah, but for us, by then would be too late, because the road's gonna be barricaded all the way up at Ocean Road, because they don't want that traffic coming down and have nowhere to go.
How are they gonna detour it around?
Shore Road.
Not down 6, they're going down to 71 at the shore?
Yes.
That's where Jersey and Shore meet, bad area.
Jersey and Shore, well,
Yeah, it's a hard,
they're gonna go all the way down, they're gonna go down to the shore, they're not gonna go down to Jersey, make left, they're gonna go all the way down the shore, make something on the pond. That's how they direct it, and similarly, when they come from Seabright, they're gonna post to Seabright that Ocean Road is closed to follow detour signs, and you'll make the right switch over the bridge. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, you have a few ordinance introductions tonight. First one is ordinance 2015-1. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 2, establishing the position of deputy tax and utility collector. We need a motion and a second for this, please.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Do we have any questions on this? Roll call, Ms. Gills?
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Thank you.
Passes.
Thank you.
So, Mayor, we will have,
Go
have
ahead.
a public hearing at our next meeting,
Yes,
Okay.
scheduled for next meeting, yes. Sorry, thank you.
which is
Which would be
May 11th.
11th, okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Mike. So we'll have a public hearing on ordinance 2015-1, establishing a deputy tax utility collector. Ordinance 2015-2, ordinance establishing the recreation fees, program fees, yes. Need a motion and a second?
We'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
And we have, well, I would just like to ask Mr. Timpkins if he has anything to say on this. We all appreciate what you're doing in your recreation department. If you're satisfied with
No, it's my recommendation.
You weren't here, so.
Yep, no, my recommendation.
anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes, so this too will be on the mail.
Yes, thank you. Next will be ordinance 2015-03. I would like to table this till we can get Mr. Barrett back. He should be in attendance tonight, but unfortunately he had a illness in the family, he couldn't attend, so I would like to see this table.
Need a motion?
Need a motion and a
I'll
second.
make the motion to table.
I'll second it.
Any questions? Roll call?
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
This will be carried to May 11th.
Thank you. We have a few resolutions. Resolution 2015-73, authorizing the refund of overpaid taxes. We need a motion and a second.
Make the motion.
I'll second it.
And we have any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Resolution R 2015-74, approving the use of the community center for St. Catherine and Spring Lake Heights PTA.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Have any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Resolution 2015-75, approving a membership to the fire department. Need a motion and a second?
I'll make that motion.
How old do you have to be a junior firefighter?
I believe, Joe?
You don't know?
I believe it's 16, but I think there's cases where it can go to 14. I think we're 16 now.
Just curious.
I remember Connor very little hanging around the fire trucks for a long time, so I'm very happy to see Connor Tully's name on here, because it's been a long time in waiting.
And it's good to see the young people. We do have, well, Chris, you may know, we do have a lot of young.
We certainly do, we saw a lot of them Saturday night, so it was great to see.
Yes, we did, that gives you a good feeling. Do we have a motion in a second?
Yes, we do.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Resolution 2015-76, certifying the governing body has reviewed the annual report of the audit for 2014. And I think we need to do a...
I'll make the motion, yes.
I'll second it.
Okay, and everyone had a chance to review it. So, okay, roll call.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Resolution 2015-77, approving the corrective action plan for 2014.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Do we have any question on the corrective action? Roll call, please.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes. And Council of Mayor, if I may, we just have tonight, before everyone leaves, just have to sign the certification that, yeah, we've got reviewed the audit and the corrective
I'm
action.
sorry, did he tell me up to, I didn't get it.
Oh, we gotta sign, the audit, we have to, so before we all leave, we gotta
We all have to sign.
go in and sign it.
I'm sorry, Jimmy.
I'm sorry.
No, it's not you, it's me.
Did I got that right, Jim? Okay, good.
R 2015-78, submitting the tonnage grant application.
Make that motion.
We have a second? Second. Any questions? Roll call, Ms. Skittles.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Resolution R 2015-79, accepting the donation of the automated external defibrillators from the Spring Lake First Aid Squad. We need a motion and a second.
Can I just ask before we vote on this, just,
I think we have to have a motion and a second.
I'll make the
I
motion.
could be wrong.
I'll second.
Okay, so you have a motion,
Yeah.
second.
Do you want me to explain it, Tom? Because I had it.
no, just, there needs to be, is there a training plan in place to get, because you can't just have them in the building, right? You have to have people trained in the building?
There is, and that would be something that we would have to do, but this is an opportunity for us to obtain these units from the first aid squad for free. And I had a discussion with Rocky on Saturday night, and Howard Rockdale is the captain of the first aid squad, so he's facilitating most of this. We had discussed putting them in a number of locations, including at the parks where they play baseball, and locations where we might have an event down the yard for somebody who's down there on Saturday, if something should happen, that the equipment's accessible. So I think this is an amazing program.
I think it is. I mean, I've been through
The first aid
training
squad has
program
people
for
who
it
are
before.
possible.
It's not really that big of a draw on your time to get certified to do it, so.
But to your point, we're gonna accept it and then train before we put it out there.
Correct, but the newer defibrillators now have gotten to a point where they tell you what to do from point A to point B, so the training
They literally
is,
talk to you,
but for the
right?
people who would want to do the training, it's very quick. I think it takes about an hour or two to go through the training for it, so
I'm
it's,
100% behind.
and the first aid squad can.
But when you say it literally talks you through it, like you open up the box and it
Yes.
says, it tells you what to do, it starts talking to you.
Yes.
Just like being married.
But Chris, can I just, when we were all talking to Rocky the other night, or Howard Rockhill, didn't he say something about, he wanted to make sure we had it for all of our locations?
Right, I assume somebody's been involved with this
Has
particular
has
list.
somebody made a list or something? He
Yeah,
was
actually-
questioning a list.
Actually, Mrs. King, the original donation notification from the First Aid Squad identified 4 buildings within the town, 3 of which are municipal facilities. This building, Public Works Facility, and the Community Center were the 3 borough-owned facilities that were identified.
Okay.
What was the other one? You said there were 4?
The firehouse.
Okay, because we had discussed doing it at the playground as well, and Rocky had said that we need to revise that list to include everything that we want, and they would make that happen.
Okay, so they were interested in adding a 4th?
He said to send a list of all the
Because we talked
properties we
about
wanted
the
to do,
Little
and then they would
League
get
field.
the equipment.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just, at the Little League field, if something should happen to a young kid down there playing, I think having that equipment accessible, it would be foolish not to take advantage of this. Even if we had to go and purchase one, I would make sure one every town.
Okay, Ted, is that it?
We'll add that to the list.
I'd rather have it hanging there and never need it than need it and not have it.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Warbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Resolution R 2015-80, approving the claims, payment for the claims on the April 23rd bills list.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Do we have any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Warbeck?
Yes.
Thank you.
Passes.
Also, we have Resolution 2015-81. I also would like to ask for a motion to table the budget introduction because Mr. Barrett is not in attendance.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Have any questions? Roll call.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
I'd just like to say, I mean, there were some comments about trying to save money. I think we had 2 workshop meetings where we kind of cut everything that I think we could. The money that we were going to spend in the budget that we have sort of in front of us that we were going to introduce today, was money that I think is going to have to be spent one way or another. It's either going to have to get raised through bonding, or it's going to be 5 years down the road. You're going to need to replace a piece of equipment, or tomorrow you're going to have to pay maintenance on that equipment. I don't think there was a lot left to cut from the budget that we were going to present. I think the one area that has been discussed by this council on what we can have left to cut was that we discussed a lot about the capital improvement fund. It's kind of basically saving up money for projects that we need to do down the line. I don't think those projects are going away. I think the money is going to need to be spent. The idea was to put some of it away today so that we don't have to borrow it tomorrow. If ultimately the council's decision is to not put that in the budget, I think you're basically saving, $100 this year so that you can spend it next year. I don't really
So
see
next
it
year
as...
you'll spend $120.
Yeah, because you have to, anyway, my point is that I agree that we can, having John Barrett available for the budget introduction is probably a good idea, but I think the budget that we have right now is something that we could have introduced, but anyway.
If I can, Tom, and maybe you or Jay can answer this, because throughout all the hearings I've been through, we've heard repeatedly that we are under caps and we are within the constraints we're supposed to be, and in front of us, we just tabled an ordinance to go beyond that cap. Which one is not in sync?
The cap ordinance provides the ability to do 2 things. It allows us to increase the cap from the 2% to the 4%, as well as bank that cap. The budget that's before you is some $101,000 below cap. So the additional $93,000 that the cap ordinance provides is really not needed this year. But it is intended to, as good financial practice, to make that cap available in the event it's needed next year. So unfortunately, in order to reserve that additional cap levy authorization, it needs to be done this year, and at the same time, it allows it to be banked for next year.
So just to finish what I was saying, Chris mentioned it last week. I think we start with, if we spent no more money than we did last year, we are obligated by contract to pay over $100,000 in salary increases. I think over the last couple of years, we've done everything we can to consolidate the workforce and to get services out with the people that we have as best we possibly can. I think in order to additionally cut this budget, you're going to additionally have to cut services. And if that's the conversation we want to have, then that is not what I've heard from the townspeople. Anyway, yes to tabling it. I'm done talking. Sorry.
Thanks. Thank you, Tom. Do we have?
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Warbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Resolution R 2015-82, appointing some part-time employees. Be a good idea to give their names, I would think. These are the names, correct, Jay?
Yes,
Antonio Bongiovanni and Joseph Tompek.
And Mayor, just for clarification, these are, I think you referred to them as part-time positions, they're actually seasonal positions
sorry.
in public works.
Thank you for the correction, Ken.
I just wanted to preface this that I wasn't at the closed session, but I reviewed their applications, and I know this two young gentlemen. So.
Yes.
Are these positions going to allow us to cut more grass and keep the town up better? Because in the past couple of years, we have been shorthanded and grass was very long and things needed trimming. Is that what these positions are gonna be
Yes.
for?
I see Joe's ready to jump up.
Initially,
Because I know you've been shorthanded.
Younger legs.
we're trying, we've added the western portion of Ware Park, also known as Fletcher Park.
Right, Fletcher property needs to be maintained now.
The Board of Ed just did me a favor, installed the sprinkler system, so.
Right, it's gonna be maintained.
That's,
So these positions will help that, right?
yeah.
Good.
Essentially, just so you folks understand, initially, when we get our seasonal help, we sort them at the bottom,
Mhm.
which is,
Right.
at the garbage truck level, and then we move up based on their abilities, and, that's sort of how they adapt to different,
Good.
work.
Okay.
We can't go with power tools right away.
But the good thing.
No, I understand, but it frees up the guys
Yeah.
who know how to use the power tools to use the power tools.
And it also, I think which a lot of times gets forgotten is our guys take vacation too. So we need.
That's right.
We need guys to fill in for vacation because the men can't take it in the winter because they're plowing snow.
That's right.
So the only time they can really take their vacation, which some of them have quite a lot vacation, is in summertime. So we need seasonal guys that offset the vacation as well. We're trying to do as much as we can in different aspects. Councilman Shore meets me more than 2-3 times a week, and he's always understands where we are, where we're going, and what's going on. So, any of you folks are more welcome to come down, speak anytime you want.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
Anything else? Roll call, Mr. Gillis?
We need
I
a
think
first
you need a
and second.
motion and a second.
Oh, motion and a second, I'm sorry.
I'll make it. I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Campion?
Abstain.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Tinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Borback?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. At this point in the meeting, we have the public comment section where you may speak on any item you like. Whatever's on your mind, just step forward and give your name and address.
Good evening, Nate Novak, 907 Keith. Excuse my voice, I'm real sick, but just on the defibrillators, we do have one at the shack.
Oh, you do?
So there
Terrific.
is one in the shack.
That's great.
Thanks, Nick.
Great job by Little League, I should know, would have been there already.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hi, George Corville, Canadian Drive. I have a problem with Wall Road, the north side of Wall Road. The gas and utility companies have dug so many access holes that it's like riding through craters along the north side of the road. I worked for a utility company for almost 40 years, and if we did anything like that, we were required to mill and repave the road. Some of the access holes don't even have pavement in them anymore. I'm wondering if we could pursue something along the north side of Wall Road.
I'm going to check with Mr. May. What's the procedure, Joe, with the utility company when
As
they're?
part of our road opening, the gas company has a annual bond, and they have a road program where they go around and infrared their patches. I have no authority on how many they do. It's up to the mayor and council. If they feel that they're not addressed these, I can contact them, and if we choose so, we can pull their bond.
I think we should contact, because what he's, Mr. Corwell is correct, Wall Road won't be going down there on the north side.
Do we need to make a motion for that?
No, I think you could
Just
just.
contact them
I'll
first.
contact the gas company. They're typically, responsive, but with the process, if they're not responsive, that would be responsive about their bond.
Good.
Good call.
I also have a concern about our new unfriendly recycling center. If you take over trimmings and things in the black plastic bag, I'm sure all of you have experienced, you put them in the bag dry and the moisture gets drawn out of them. And when you dump the bag out, there's stuff still left in the bag or the bag rips. The new recycling coordinator has decided that there should be no barrels around for depositing any of these plastic bags. I guess expects you to put these things back in your car and take them home with you. Also, I had commented to one of the workers several weeks ago, I brought over some fluorescent tubes. There's no place to put fluorescent tubes. They are not supposed to go in the garbage because they contain mercury, as do CFLs. There's no place to put them. I understand that there's a policy now on Saturdays that people cannot bring over big garbage or regular garbage at any time. They used to have a truck stationed there that people could put things in. There's been no notification that I know of to the town about this, so anytime you do go over there, you see that people do leave some bags laying around. And I'm wondering why, since Mr. Herner left, the policy has changed so significantly there.
Mr. May, give you this.
First off, we're not an authorized transfer station. We're not allowed to bring garbage. We're a recycling center. So we're not, DEP rules do not permit garbage to be brought to our facility. We collect garbage and we bring it right to the dump. We have people come down, they throw garbage on the ground. That's why we don't have barrels on the ground. I understand your point with the bag of leaves. Problem is you leave, next guy comes down with his garbage because he got fish last night for dinner, or they throw it in there, they leave. We are not allowed to operate as a transfer station. We are a recycling center. Now, as far as the bulbs, we do collect the bulbs. I will talk to my men. We do take all bulbs, we box them up, and we send them out to recycling.
Well, I know that when I was there was a gentleman, he took.
I would just recommend you bring an extra bag. You dump your leaves, bring an extra bag with you, your wet bag, back in the bag, throw them out with your trash. We collect trash twice a week in town. There's no reason that anybody needs to dump garbage at the yard. And bulk is the same thing. We're not a transfer station. And besides not being a transfer station, we don't have, there's no ability for me to stop out of towners. Our trash dumping tipping fees for one truck is over $600. On a weekend, I'd have 2 trucks of trash. Mostly from out of towners that borough residents are paying for. So.
Well, Spring Lake seems to have solved that problem with a little bumper sticker.
At the same time, we don't have the ability to take trash. We don't have the container for it. We don't have.
No, I mean for out-of-towners, for anything.
I understand that. I understand. But as far as garbage goes, we don't take household garbage. We collect twice a week.
Well, I understand that, but the town doesn't know that.
It's on the calendar.
It is.
Every person in town gets a calendar.
Okay,
It's
I'll have to
clearly
relook
labeled.
at it.
We sign in front of the building which says what you can do, what you can't do to try and, notify people. I'm not sure what other steps the council will take. It's not council, right?
Yeah,
We can
well,
take-
I'm sorry if it's in the calendar, and I missed that.
The exact thing that's on the calendar is on the side of the building. And it's a 4-foot by 8-foot sign. So it's clearly labeled what we accept and what we don't.
Okay, so we're expected to take the trimmings bags back.
Yes.
Okay. Municipal grants, are you going to discuss them? Yeah, and another section. Pardon me?
I'm sorry, I'm good.
Well, I was just gonna say, we did, did you have an idea?
I did have an idea. I think that it would be helpful if the town went in for a grant for replacing the current sodium vapor streetlights with LED streetlights. The sodium vapor lamps don't seem to last too long. Any point in time when you ride around town, there's quite a few of them that are burned out. The other thing is, I think it would help law enforcement because you can't identify colors with the sodium vapor. Plus, they're a very dirty light. When you look up in the sky and you see that orange glow, that's the sodium vapor lamps from all around. So several towns, I know Jersey Central hasn't really gotten on board, but if you go up north at all into the public service area, there's a lot of areas that have converted to LED lamps or
This was
metal halide.
something that Councilman Schuler and I had looked at the end of last year, and the biggest hurdle we came over, because there's a significant cost savings, as I'm sure you know, of not powering
Well,
those old
that's
lights
it.
versus LED is tremendous. But the problem is, we lease those lights from JCP&L, and we have no authority to change them. And they seem to be very behind the times as far as wanting to apply finances to replace them. We've approached it, and we've done everything that we could do within reason to try and get them to move on them. And it's been very frustrating for me, because I absolutely agree with you from an environmental perspective, from a cost perspective. It absolutely makes sense, but we don't have that authority because we don't own it.
I believe Marlboro has gone through with changing out most of their lamps. Maybe we could contact Marlboro.
That's
and find
good
out.
to know, thank you.
I believe it's Marlboro, and find out how they went about it. Because
It's great
cost
information.
savings, I think it's better for law enforcement, and
It's also a nicer light when you're out at night.
it's
easier
a
to
nicer
see.
light when you're out at light, at night. So that was my.
Thank you very much.
Jay, could you check in them, just check with Marlboro just to see?
We will. I'm not familiar with something that they may have done there, and frankly, I'm not sure of the boundary of the service area, but you did point out that Public Service Electric and Gas has a very active program for changing out street lighting and also providing solar panels for street lighting. And JCP&L does not have that program today.
They have enough trouble keeping our lights on when it gets warm outside.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I have 6 items on the list. Number one, are any of you aware, someone came to my house the other day, and I know I have received something in the mail from the Department of Justice, that someone came to the door and started asking them, saying, I'm from the Department of Justice, this little badge, and she said that I have questions to ask you and things like that, and it's random. And I have asked several people, and no one else knew anything about it. No one else seemed to have someone go to the house. So that was one thing that started me thinking that we also had the program where 20% of the town, 20% and 20% for the reevaluation thing. And if the person isn't home or they don't let them in, they don't, they get a higher evaluation through the assessor. However, a lot of the seniors that I've heard, we were talking about this, and they're concerned of their safety. A lot of them are single women at home. They don't know who these people are. They say they're clearly identified, but they really don't know. Isn't there any way when they do that, especially if we started out the south end of town, we go to the Muse and then head to the north end of town, couldn't there be appointments made or some sort of list that we can do between the hours of and people would sign up? Something into that?
The process does require the company that's performing those inspections to send letters first and providing a time frame during which homes would be visited. There is not really a process for individual appointments to be made, but I believe that there is a follow-up available for someone that is not found to be at home, flyers left, that sort of thing.
Right, but I'm just saying, just safety. I mean, a senior woman goes to the door, they don't know, or someone who may be going into Alzheimer's or something, they don't know.
Well,
And
in the case of any kind of
have a stranger in
canvassing,
the home is scary.
if anyone has a concern, they should call the police department, and the police department is aware of any active canvassing or those types of programs that are going on. I'm not familiar with the one that you
Department of
referenced.
Justice? Yeah, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, it
because
sounds
Sounds very
fishy.
suspect.
Sounds very
Yeah,
fishy.
and that's what I'm concerned about, because there are so many scams hitting seniors today, and so many home invasions, things like that. Tonight, I had 2 young boys on skateboard came up to my door, and you know so-and-so. I didn't open the door, I just said, no, I didn't know them. But as we get more into the summer, and we have more transient people coming down, I think this is a concern that maybe we should really take a hard look at it and try to work out something better than what we have in place right now. That's 2 off the list. Do we have, I thought we had an ordinance about commercial trucks being on the street in residential areas in the evening, overnight. Could we check on that maybe? I don't know, Jay.
I believe we do, yeah, I can answer that. It's over 10,000 pounds, so typically, if a pickup it's 10,000 pounds. It's a pretty large vehicle that we would be prohibited, so there's, unless you revise your ordinance to make it a lighter gross vehicle weight, a pickup, commercial landscape truck.
They all fall
Okay,
under.
my understanding was it was any commercial vehicle
Absolutely not.
whatsoever.
It's commercial vehicles with 10,000, gross vehicle weight of 10,000 pounds or more.
Okay, thanks. Okay. The recycling mixed paper, I had a question, having been back and forth. Art Turner had told me with the mixed paper, if you put it in a shredded paper in particular, in plastic bag, just throw it in the bin, in the plastic bag. Is that the way you want it, or
They accept it that way.
they do accept it that way? Okay.
They have to, because nobody listens to it if you tell them not to do it anyway.
Okay, because that's, I was wondering also, like the gentleman where the barrels went, because he
He's
threw
talking
the
about his
bags.
brush.
He's
The
talking
brush
about-
bags,
Right.
what happens, people put a brush and they throw bags on the ground. We don't take them up, put them back in your car, so what am I supposed to do? I said, pick up garbage twice a week, throw them on the garbage, bring the bag with you.
Weren't there, Joe, I thought I've seen like Home Depot and Lowe's and the major retailers, don't they have biodegradable
Yeah.
bags for that you can just leave and throw right in there? So that might be a solution too, if you could
Yeah,
find
yeah.
those,
Well, I
use
was
the ones that can
thinking
go
the
right in.
shredded paper, because I had been
No, I
told
meant
they
the-
didn't want
the
to
recycling.
The
throw
brush.
Yeah,
just
right.
the shredded paper thrown in, because with the things open, then the wind kicks up and they blow all over, so I was told put in plastic bags, but I wanted to clarify that for myself. Defibrillators, I'm glad to hear it's going to the community center. I've been asking for it for many years. That would be a godsend, because at one point we did have someone in the playground, a girl came running in, her mom, she thought was having a heart attack. It would have been handy, and they do have them at home, so they're good. Sprinkler, I had been told, I don't know if this is true, I haven't been here, so I'm just trying to clarify. Did we give the school $150,000 for a sprinkler system for the grounds?
No, we partnered with them because the fields, when we were, you probably remember when we were talking about the fields and the.
I remember the fields very well.
Right, and so part of that was, if we partnered with the school, we would all save money, and they offered to partner with us on their big piece of land there. Our money is going towards redoing the fields, but there's no sense in redoing the fields unless you're going to sprinkler them, because they'll just turn hard as a rock and become crabgrass within a year. So they're using their own money to sprinkler them, and we're putting in money to redo them.
Okay.
And so this way they will remain usable and in good shape.
But the money came from the open space
It
trust
was open
fund.
space, so there's no tax impact on
It was money that had already been raised.
And is the open space at 1% or 2%?
1.5, isn't it? Or is it 1%? 1%.
And the maximum reimbursement to the school, Board of Education, the school district, is $100,000.
Yeah.
Okay. And we clarified exactly who actually owns the land. Jim, you can recall back in the school days, we had a question as to which of the land was out freehold that had never been registered at one point for a sale of $1. So have we ever clarified that between the town and the school for sure? I know everybody assumes that.
No, we had an agreement that our attorney looked at and their attorney looked at, and they were approved by 2 attorneys, right? So that
And it is the Board of Education's property.
property, it's their property, and we're allowed to use it.
And we're technically leasing it for our recreation program.
Correct.
Is the way the arrangement was structured.
Okay, because, going back, I know there had been a conflict or problem with it. Someone had gotten hurt, someone had sued, whether it was the town or the school, and it went back and forth.
No, I think that's part of what we took care of in terms of titles and that
I
kind of
had
stuff.
it, yeah, I wanted to make sure they were in place out in Freehold. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no hands, I need a motion to close public comment.
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If we have nothing else up here on the dais? No?
And I want to comment on one thing that I talked to Tom about it before, and I just want to, just food for thought when we leave before we come back to have a discussion on the budget. We discussed about capital money going forward, and after the last hearing, a few of our wonderful residents caught me in the lobby and didn't hold back on some of their feelings on some of the things that were said, which I greatly appreciate, because I'm not going to sit here and say that my eyes are the way the world is, and seeing things through other people's eyes tend to help me quite a bit. But one of the things that came to mind about putting the money aside for capital, which I mentioned to Tom before the meeting, is what our wonderful state legislator has done with the pension system, where they see money sitting there and it's a piggy bank to take from. And my biggest concern with putting money aside with capital now has become, how do we make sure that money gets allocated to what we're going to put it towards? I don't want to see us build a fund that in 2 or 3 years, somebody decides a little pet project they want to do because it makes their neighbor better, or it makes their backyard look better, so we can do this, and the money's there, so let's use it. Just like we said before about the money we used on the school. Well, yes, it was money we had, but it's still tax money that came from the residents. So when we see that money sitting there, we kind of look at, well, it's not money we didn't have to raise, we didn't have to do anything special to get it, it was sitting there, but it's still our tax dollars. So one of the things I'd like to see if we're going to do a capital program is to see an actual depreciation schedule of our equipment that we're going to replace, timelines and values on what we want to do, and actually instead of just putting money aside and hoping it'll be there when we need it, come up with a true plan. And I'm not so sure that this year is the time to do it. As I had mentioned to Tom before, we're already in May, there's 7 months left to come up with this for next year if we really want to do capital, but the way I'm feeling about this right now is I don't think putting money in the budget and hoping it'll be there for when we need it is the appropriate way to attack this. So I'd like to leave that as food for thought when we revisit.
No, I mean, I think it's a very valid point, but I still go back to the fact that I think it would be a very good plan to make sure that it gets spent on what we want it to be spent on. But I don't think that you can get away from the fact that ultimately we have projects and equipment that's going to need to be replaced, and we're going to have to pay for it one way or another. I think it's better.
I'd like to see
make
it
sure that it's very
quantified.
clear.
I'd like
so
to
that
not
we
just
can
be, we're
quantify it.
putting this
I
money in for that. And I
totally
think
agree with that. And the $100,000, just because you mentioned it again, just it wasn't. You're right. It wasn't. It's not free money. It was money that was raised from taxes, but it was raised for a specific purpose, and the purpose was to maintain and acquire open space.
I have no qualms over it got done.
Ultimately, that's how we
great to see
spent
done,
it.
but-
So I just wanted to clarify that.
Mr. McLean, how can we guarantee the public that what we put the capital fund in there for will go towards what it's intended? Is there a way to get around that?
Well, I think probably the better way to ask would be to ask the CFO when he comes in, if there's a way to do that, but typically, when one passes an ordinance to do something, one is always at the mercy of the next governing body changing their mind. But if there's a particular way to dedicate that, you'd have to probably ask the CFO when he comes in.
Okay.
Well, I'd be curious too, I don't know that we're permitted to do this, but if we could tie it up and say in 5 years we need this, let's buy a 5-year CD so that in 5 years we earn some money off it and it's not just sitting in an account. Something like that, I would feel more secure going forward with it, because I agree that borrowing money and paying interest is not the right way to do it. I certainly believe that we should be planning ahead for expenses. I just don't want to see us build a nest egg for somebody else who is up for election in the fall. It's really important, and I can get a whole lot of votes if I put a swimming pool in at Ocean Road Park. I'm just saying that we see the way things tend to go, and I'd like to know the money is designated where it needs to be, and that's my biggest concern. So I just wanted to throw that out there so we can lament until we come back.
We'll take that. That's food for thought. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Butch.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I appreciate all the comments up here. We have very intelligent people up here, and believe me, I appreciate it. I know the residents appreciate it as well when they hear you guys, you council people speak this way before we settle. Guys. Need a motion to adjourn.
I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Joe.